This starts the public forum, and happy belated birthday, Phil, of the Stratford Town Council. This is our pre-meeting public forum. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. You will hear like a buzzer that goes off. When you come up to the podium, please state your name and address, your full address clearly. And if the rest of the audience can be silent as you speak, it would be most appreciated. The first speaker tonight, I think the handwriting says Andrew Gabrecki. Okay, thank you very much. And you stand there, and you first have to state your name and address, your full address.
Okay, I live at, my name is Andrew Gabicki. I live at 39 Pleasant View Avenue, Stratford. Okay, amongst a lot of things that I don't like, forum, okay, I'm retired. I guess my wife would call me a hoarder.
Could you speak in the microphone, please?
I guess my wife would call me a hoarder, but I weed out. Last month I threw away stuff down at the transfer station. Wow. My car, my truck doesn't have a sticker, but I could dump off at the transfer station. Nobody checked it. Me. How many people work down there? That's one. I've seen trucks go on the scale and nobody say anything. And, you know, they're not, how could I say, they're commercial trucks. They're dumping off waste more than I probably make a year. Okay? But nobody's taking count. How come? Who's paying for it? I am. The people here. You, if you live in Stratford. Okay, why is it a mess? Last week, I went down, still a pile of garbage coming out of the back. How come? My taxes are being paid for these guys that sit around down there twiddling their thumb, maybe on their iPads. They don't give a shit. Excuse my French. Okay, my taxes are paying their wage. Don't they know that? Don't they know that? You know, why aren't they in a lifter shoveling this stuff into the incinerator? I got to the doors where you could throw things in, and it was piled higher than myself. What are they doing down there? And, gee, we're paying for it to be moved. Well, gee, who's making a count? Is it with Waste Management? They have a contract. They can drop 1 million pounds of garbage, and we only get 35 cents for it? I don't think that's fair. Okay? Milford is much cleaner than Stratford. Much. Taxes? I don't want to see my taxes go up in Stratford. How many people are employed by Stratford? Okay? Are they necessary? They have maybe a carpool that they fix everything, or do they send it out? Because when I was coming here, there was a police car in Paradise Green. It was being towed. Where's the maintenance that we pay? How come it's being towed somewhere? Police car, Stratford. What can I say? I don't want my taxes to go up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Francis Voigt.
Hello, everybody. I really wasn't prepared to talk tonight, but I will anyway.
Okay, if you could state your name and address,
Francis
please.
Voigt, 480 James Farm Road, Stratford, Connecticut, 06614.
Thank you.
Of course, lower the taxes. Bridgeport's the highest in the country. Are we going to be second? No, I don't want it. What I want them to do They've got to lower the taxes so they can attract business, so they can attract homeowners. Who's going to buy? Businesses will close and go away if we don't move and do something to make this town more attractive. I'm not an expert in that area, but I think we should have an internal audit and get an expert to investigate where the heck this money's going and how it's being spent and where we can economize. Now, I don't know. I was a troubleshooter for hospitals, okay? And one of the little side jobs I had, which is ridiculous for a registered nurse, was go around, turn out the lights while I was working because their bills were very high. No problem. But you just have to do something. And like I said, I'm not the expert, but boy, I'd love to see one and have one that knows what he's doing in this area, and maybe we can do something to help ourselves, because I have a lot of acres up there on James Farm Road, and it's really a shame. I could pull bills from the 1930s before I was even born, what my mother paid. And in the 70s, when I had to go back home because my dad had died and we built onto the house. And at that time, even 1978, they didn't compare with the taxes I'm paying now. And my paycheck hasn't kept up with that kind of money, and my husband died. So what am I supposed to do? Downsize? I love where I live. I like to stay where I live, and I'd like to see the town recover and come back and be a great town, like Trump says. Great. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker is Stephen Roguskus.
Hi, Stephen Roguskus, 94 Noble Street. I thought I could have sworn that I had seen in the original agenda that I saw posted that the budget was listed on there. And now that there's an amended agenda, it's not on there. I'm not sure why that happened. Hopefully during the response to the public, somebody can explain that. And hopefully 7 of you can agree to bring the budget up for a vote. It can't be ignored. I mean, it's got to be worked on. I know that Mr. Chase, I'm sorry he's not here, but he said that he had a compromise budget to present. I know that other people have been working on compromise budgets to present. Sit down, try to find something in each of them that you can cobble together into a workable budget. Don't just say no to people because you've voted against them in the past. This has to get done. The other thing that I wanted to say is that at the last meeting, last Wednesday, my councilman, Scott Farrington-Posner, asked what I thought was a very reasonable question of the mayor, asking for his assurance that he had gone through the budget carefully and trimmed all the waste that he could find. Mayor Harkins then spoke about vision and goals for the town, all admirable things. We all should be working towards a common goal, but he did not answer the question. When my councilman asked the question again, the mayor said we shouldn't be discussing this at all now and shut down the conversation. So tonight I would hope that during questions to the mayor, first of all I hope it happens, because the last time it didn't happen, it just sort of got skipped, that the mayor can answer that question. If he's actually gone through and trimmed every bit of fat that he could, because I don't believe it myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is John Rich.
John Rich, 68 Willow Avenue. I know that many of the speakers here tonight are probably going to want to talk about trying to find some compromise and resolution to some type of budget for the town. Unfortunately, my point of view is that I think that the ship has sailed. The reason I say that is because when you think about it, 2 budgets were passed by this council. Both of them were vetoed by the mayor. That ongoing process left us to where we are today. That is essentially last year's budget, which includes all of the questionable transfers that the mayor refused to reconcile in any budgets going forward. So he gets to continue with that practice. That in it itself is a bit of a problem. Then on top of that, you have the second half of that. For the same reason that you guys can't get a budget passed because you need 7 votes to override the veto, chances are you will never get a budget on to the discussion tonight because, again, you need to have those 7 votes to override the chair's discretionary feelings about blocking having the budget on there. But think about it. By that parliamentary trick, and I know you could give it whatever false narrative name you want, but essentially it is playing parliamentarian tricks, you get the bloated and patronizing budget that the mayor wants, complete with a tax increase, all of which we have no say about, despite the fact that we elected you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ann Vulte. Next speaker is Ann Vulte.
Ann Vulte. Live at 635 Stratford Avenue. I'm here with regard to the change of name. The proposed change was Barnstock Way, and the people that have requested the change of name are not in favor of that. And we have asked instead to use the name of Selby's Pond Road, or one person suggested Selby's Pond Place. I gave a copy of the signatures to the town council's office last week, and I have the original signatures here.
They're just asking if you'd speak into the microphone, please. A little louder.
Ann Vulte, can you hear me now? 635 Stratford Avenue. A couple of years ago, we had asked for a change of name for the end section of Stratford Avenue, and the town came back with a proposal to change it to Barnstock Way, which we are not in favor of, and we would like to have a change to Selby's Pond Road or Selby's Pond Place. And I delivered copies of the signatures to the town council's office before, but here are them.
I'm afraid we don't have them. Okay, thank you. The next speaker is, all that I see on this is Koki? Is that, okay. And is that your full name?
Aki Koki,
Oh, okay.
127 Taft Street, Stratford, Connecticut, 06615.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, first of all, I think everyone who vote against the increased tax, because you can hear everybody saying that some of them of homeowner, some of them rely on the social security, some of them were disabled, some of them were struggling. So how can you try to build a community while you're trying to crush people? If you love your people, you will provide a decent care for your people. Tax will be going up every 6 months. I just moved in last year, and my tax went up to $1,000 already. So what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 years? I'm going to be in the street, or all the house going to be in foreclosure. This is the problem. So I'm going to have a message to the mayor. Tell the mayor, if you need money, trying to do something to bring businesses to Stratford, not trying to get money to the homeowner because they're struggling. It's not easy. And we see in the statistic that Connecticut don't have the job rate, the employment rate is very low. And we see young people don't have job. They don't have job. They don't have nothing to do. They're out of school. They are all in the street. So we have to do something for them. Maybe a summer camp, give them something to do instead of only focus on increasing taxes, and we don't know where the money is really going. So high taxes, I have some statistic. The mill rate for property tax was 38.99. That's the current one. Now the mayor raised to 39.93. The council rejected, and then he raised again 39.97. So that you want to punish a homeowner because he's upset? No, he can't do that. So I'm here to call for everyone for a strike tax, because that's not fair that if we send a tax bill to people to pay, meanwhile people didn't vote for it. That's wrong. That's wrong, the wrong thing to do stuff. That's very wrong. So I'm here just to tell the mayor, please help people to come and buy a house here in Connecticut. Because when I spoke with friends in New York, they don't want to come here. They're scared because they might lose their house in 5, 10 years because everything is going up. Homeowner insurance is going up. Tax is doubling every year. And we have the same job, and there's no raise. How can you survive? What are we going to give to our future generation? So this is very something to do. Just bring businesses here. And as a matter of fact, I heard that Walmart, this mayor gives Walmart 30 years tax break. 30 years tax break, that's a lot. 30-year tax break. No city does that. No city, only him, he does that. That's why they don't have money. So I don't know, that he needs some help. So you guys have to help him that no tax increase. Please, we want to go to the old mill rate, which is 38.99. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker is Sonia Devitt.
I'm Sonia Devitt, 545 Hilltop Drive in Stratford. My first question is, I'd like to know what the time limit is for the posting of minutes from council meetings, because as of this afternoon, there were still no minutes for either of last week's special council meetings on the website. So I would like to know what that, during the answer period, I'd like to know what the time limit is for getting those out to the public. Secondly, on July 5th, which was your second special meeting last week, I spoke about what I felt was a disrespect that Mr. Timniak had shown the council in not getting to certain councilmen the information that they had asked for that meeting. Well, Mr. Timniak again was at the meeting on the 5th, and again he did not have the documents ready that he was to have prepared for the council for that meeting. In my opinion, only in extraordinary circumstances should any person in any public, well, any meeting, but especially the council of a town, be having to take a vote on something they have not had a chance to read and think about in advance. It's unconscionable, and I wish that Mr. Timniak could be held accountable for that. Third, there was an article in yesterday's Sunday Post, as I'm sure you all saw, in which the mayor is talking about the tax bills going out with a mill rate increase. The article says the bills will be based on a mill rate of 39.97. That is 2.2 mills higher than any of the mayor's proposed budgets. How can that be justified? Also, more importantly, how can the town send out tax bills that state a mill rate higher than last year's tax bills when the charter, section 6.2.6, gives the power to set the mill rate only to the council? The mayor does not have that authority. Therefore, he cannot send out tax bills legally with the mill rate higher than what you authorized or what is the default mill rate until you get your work done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Mitzi Antezo.
Did somebody leave this up here? Yeah. With Channel 1. Huh? Oh, sorry. You're on camera. Actually, my real name is Mary Ann. Mitzi Antezo, 367 Windsor Avenue, Stratford. If we're using last year's budget, there is an illegal taking of $700,000 from the WPCA revolving sewer fund. Last year it was called the Tax Relief Fund, so we didn't know that it was from our revolving sewer fund. And I'm going to quote from Andrew Lord's message to me. He says, "The statute addressing the use of sewer funds is perfectly clear. The funds cannot be commingled with other funds of the municipality or used for any purpose other than the improvements to the sewerage system." And he cites Section 7-267 of the Connecticut General Statutes, use of funds. All benefits, assessments, and charges for connection with or use of the sewer system, whether pledged for payment of bonds or notes or otherwise, shall be kept separate from other funds of the municipality and shall be used for the sewerage system, including the payment of debt incurred for the sewer system and the interest thereon, and for no other purpose. Now, he also gives us some information from DEEP, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, DEEP, elaborated on its interpretation of the statutes in its January 1997 publication, Methods of Capital Cost Recovery on Water Pollution Control Projects, a summary and analysis of the 1995 Sewer Benefit Assessment Survey. And it reinforces the principal meaning of the statute. The ability to use funds collected as benefit assessments or connection charges is restricted by Connecticut General Statute 7-267. This statute requires that funds collected for the sewer system must be kept separate and must not be transferred or used for anything but the costs associated with the sewer system. This means that regardless of other fiscal needs of the community, money that's been collected for the operation, maintenance, or debt retirement of the sewer system cannot be transferred or reallocated to other municipal accounts. And it is possible that we may have to consult DEEP on this if we don't have some sort of settlement as to how, actually over 2 years, it was $2,250,000 was taken. I'd like another minute, please. More importantly, and this is very important, the town charter 6.2.6 specifically states that the council shall set the mill rate, not the mayor. And since we are using last year's budget, the mill rate set by the council was 38.99. The mayor has no right under law to change this. And unless the mill rate stated in the Post article is changed from 39.97 back to 38.99, we will sue. Let me repeat. Unless the mill rate stated in the Post article is changed from 39.97 back to 38.99, we will sue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Stephanie Phillips. Next speaker is Stephanie Phillips.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Phillips, 41 Yarwood Street, and I know you all know me. I am a former council member, like yourself the previous term, and I am somebody who is also running for mayor. And I am here to talk to you to remind you that the tax bills that went out this Friday do not have your authority to do so. The mayor cannot send out tax bills without your authority. Let's be clear. If you allow that to continue, you will change the role of the town council and your responsibilities going forward. That is not the mayor's job. You are elected by the people to represent the people. That is your role. And when he does things like send out tax bills without your authority, he is ignoring the will of the people. He is ignoring your rights as council members. And you should not allow that to continue. It is unacceptable. As a mayor, the mayor's responsibility should be to work with you, whether it takes 7 meetings, 10 meetings, but the mayor's job is to bring people together, to work on a solution that is acceptable. It doesn't mean entrenchment. It means that we each give a little. Now, everyone knows I do not want to see a tax increase. But even at this point, I don't like what's happening in Hartford. And that's no excuse for it to continue here. And it's no excuse for the mayor to take matters into his hands and not to change the charter by coming up with some state statute that is used by the town attorneys. We did that in WPCA. It wasn't acceptable then. It's not acceptable now. I am asking you as council members to continue bringing up a budget. I'm disappointed it's not on the agenda tonight. There was no reason why the tax bills needed to go out on Friday when there was a meeting on Monday. I'm asking for 7 votes to put it back on the agenda and to keep working on a solution. I understand that there's compromise. I understand, as much as I don't want a tax increase, that if we had to have a small tax increase just to get past this impasse, I will live with it. As an upcoming mayor, I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. But we need to do what we need to do, and that is get a budget passed. And I am asking each of you, who are good people, to come together, put it back on the agenda, and continue working, whatever it takes, and to not allow this to continue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Frank Parody.
Wow, those are some tough acts to follow. My name is Frank Parody. I live at 798 East Broadway. I figure I got to come up here once in a while so people could see if I'm as big an SOB as I seem to be. But when you say as much on blind or obligation occasions, so you see how the people are coming forward and articulating. The charter I read talks about that you have powers and that the mayor has responsibilities. It states quite clearly where all of your powers lie, and under his authorities, it talks about responsibilities. And again, we've been confronted with this idea of illegality, of a form of almost a dictatorship. It's my way or the highway. I mean, that isn't democracy. That isn't even the rule of law. And I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult to get people to enforce the rule of law. But at some point, when we're talking about illegalities, when we're talking about unlawful acts, we're talking about we need to get some law around here. We need to get some people involved and to get the things enforced. So, again, I implore you all, it's good to see you. Good luck with everything. Thank you for stepping forward and speaking. Thank you for the people who show up. For the people who aren't showing up, we're trying real hard to make this work. It's not a spectator sport, ladies and gentlemen. It can't be the same people here over and over again, but it's good to see new people. It's good to see the old people. Good luck with tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Daniel Rawson.
Good evening. Dan Rawson, 753 Stratford Avenue. I'm not here to talk about the budget. The recent proposal to change the name of Stratford Avenue from Elm Street down to Lockwood. I just want to register that that's, I think, an excellent idea. That part of Stratford Avenue, that little strip, okay, right where Elm and Ferry Boulevard and Stratford Avenue all meet. If you're coming down Stratford Avenue, heading east, you would never ever know that Stratford Avenue actually is the little road, you know, that kind of goes a little bit to the side there, because it appears as if it would merge with Ferry Boulevard. That's the main drag. In fact, that last little piece of it is one way. You can't even come out of Stratford Avenue heading west without taking a little jog onto Ferry Boulevard. So I think it makes a lot of sense, okay, to rename it. The idea back here, Selby's Pond, reference to that instead of Bonstock Way, that sounds good too. To me, it's not about what that name should be, but it's about making it different from the remainder of Stratford Avenue. They're not really contiguous. Okay, again, driving, it nobody, not a single person from out of town would know that that's Stratford Avenue. You have to have local knowledge or GPS, okay, you wouldn't know. And also, it has nothing in common with the rest of Stratford Avenue. That as you continue on Stratford Avenue West, heading towards Bridgeport, there's little, if any, residences, okay, it's industrial, and then it's Bridgeport, okay, and, you know, the connotation of Stratford Avenue as you get to Bridgeport is, we all know what that is. So the opposite end, near Bonstock, again, has nothing in common, and it's a great little neighborhood, and I think it deserves its own identity, whether it be Bonstock Way or Selby's Pond Road, or I think it's a great idea. I love the neighborhood, and I'm all for it. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Karen Rodia.
Good evening, Karen Rodia, 2115 Cut Spring Road. I'm here tonight to talk to you about State Statute 8-30G and to request that each of you call our state representatives and senators and work toward an override of the governor's veto. That affects our town greatly, as you all know. We need to override that in order to protect our town from high-density housing that is going to be overburdening to the infrastructure in this community, because we cannot handle it. That's the first thing. The second thing I'm here to ask is for you to please, for the love of God, put together budget workshops. If you're not going to discuss it in a group, having little pocket groups only creates dissension. So please, do it in a workshop format, open to the public, so everybody can see it, and that way pertinent questions can be asked, and even the public may be able to submit some questions that you may not think of. Last year I was at your workshops, and you can't have just one question, oh gee, what can you give up? Because they're going to tell you nothing. That's their job, is to protect their department and make it run to its highest good. So that being said, one other thing is with regard to state statute, there's some questions with regard to what the mayor can and cannot do. And as galling as it is, and I found it galling when I was on charter revision, but understood the need to have a safety in place, that the state of Connecticut has a law on the books. Ask Mr. Florick, because he was the head of charter revision, and we discussed it. I just can't remember the statute number. It is there that gives the mayor the power to set a mill rate in the inability of this group of coming together and passing a bulletproof budget, and you didn't do it. So that's how we're in the position we're in. I need you all, we all need you all to get together and talk as a group, not 2 of you here, 3 of you there, a couple more over there, and then scream at each other. It's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's all over the internet. It's not limited to just Stratford. All that stuff that we see goes out everywhere, and quite frankly, the residents are just plain old tired of it. So please, please work together and find a compromise that is a little bit of yours and a little bit of yours and a little bit of yours and a little bit of yours, and hopefully keep any increases to a minimum. I mean, right now, what we have is unforgivable, and that's how I feel about it. It's unforgivable. So please work together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker is Elizabeth Hart.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Hart. I live at 786 Stratford Avenue, and I'm also here to address the name change, specifically Stratford Avenue from Elm Street to Lockwood Avenue. I'm a little bit confused because the letter coming to the current property owners on the street specifically said that the piece of Stratford Avenue from Shore Road to Lockwood Avenue had been already changed to Bonstock Way, and the council was going to consider at this meeting renaming my portion, again, Elm Street to Lockwood Avenue, to be called specifically Bonstock Way. So now I see that Mrs. Volte they don't want Bonstock Way anymore. They want Selby's Pond Road. Anyway, I have a petition signed by 8 of the property owners. There's 16 houses on our piece of the street, and we do not want to change the name at all. We see no reason to change the name from Stratford Avenue. Stratford Avenue is a direct line. It intersects Main Street and Elm Street. No one that I spoke to can see any good reason to change the name. We like the name. It's been that way. Personally, I have lived 65 years on Stratford Avenue, and I would like to continue to be living on Stratford Avenue. I do have a petition signed by the property owners, as I said. Because of the letter from the town, it specifically says they do not want to rename the portion of Stratford Avenue to Bonstock Way. But I am here to tell you that the people that signed this petition do not want to change the name at all. They want to keep Stratford Avenue. They are happy with it. They don't feel that there's any negative connotation because of Bridgeport. They're aware that Bridgeport and Stratford are 2 separate cities, towns, and we would like to just keep our name as it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there another sheet of sign-ups? It's empty? Okay. Okay, then the next speaker is Tom Yem.
Tom Yam, 746 Broad Street. Good evening, members of Town Council and members of the audience here tonight. I'd like to start by congratulating Councilman Llewellyn on the new job. Other than that, I want to make sure I mention everyone here tonight. By now, everyone here knows that Town Council, as currently comprised, is unable to agree upon a budget, or rather, that a 6-4 no tax increase budget has been twice vetoed by Mayor Harkins. Tax notices have gone out, and everyone's tax bill is a little higher than it could have been, though less than the mayor originally proposed. Here's how to resolve this impasse. Acknowledge that no changes are forthcoming before November, and do your part to make sure those elections are decisive, even more than in 2015. In addition to getting ourselves a new mayor, we have 10 council races to consider. Let's do so. As of this moment, all of the steadfast 6, don't call them hardliners, as they're working for you at no pay, are expected to run for re-election. After all they've been through, it's the least we voters can do to make their return to council chambers a foregone conclusion. You think Mitzi's too old for the job? Well, then you haven't seen her in action, especially regarding the WPCA that she's protecting from town hall skimming like a mother hen, or, in deference to her seniority, a grandmother hen. You think councilpersons Cann, Manis, and Farrington-Posner are too strident? Then consider what would have happened if they weren't out there every time defending taxpayers against this unsustainable status quo in all their stridency. And while some may say that Wali Kadim has been over the top on occasion, or that Phil Young has been overly accommodating on occasion. The fact is that when 6 votes against a tax increase have been needed, they've provided 1/3 of them. Thank you. What of the rest? Well, 8th District's Chase is retiring, either to his garden or to keep Laura Hoydick's Hartford seat warm, according to one wag. So vote for Adam Brill, an easy, thoughtful, responsible choice. And after Indiana Susanya's courageous announcement that she's running for her ex-husband's seat in the 4th District, that vote's a no-brainer as well. In the first, keep it simple, and I close. Dump the dreadful, disastrous DePonte and choose wisely. Choose John Rich. Thank you.
If there's nobody, is there anybody else who would choose to speak?
Beth?
I'm sorry. She would like to?
Carol Walker, 135 Riverview Place. I really don't want to speak. You can't hear me? I'm kind of taller than the
Carol
microphone.
Walker, I'm
Can you
sorry,
hear me?
repeat your address, please?
135 Riverview Place.
Okay, thank you.
2 meetings ago, I asked if anybody here knew if the mayor was paying taxes, property taxes in the town of Stratford. I never got an answer, and I'm still wondering, is our mayor paying property taxes? Is he hurting the way we're hurting? And if anybody has an answer, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And I'd also like to thank the 6 of you for sticking up for the taxpayers and representing the taxpayers. Thank you.
Greg Can, 234 Klondike Street. Earlier tonight, I looked up the definition of a few words just to try and get a sense of how our taxes and our town budgets have been constructed over the last few years. The grand list is the valuation of the town, all the property, all the real estate in the town, commercial, residential. Since Mayor Harkins was elected 7.5 years ago, our grand list remains $100 million below what it was when he was elected. We talk about investors in our town. Why aren't people investing in the town of Stratford from a commercial real estate? Because that's what will offset our property real estate taxes. Well, one reason is that over the same 7.5 years, our real estate taxes have gone up about 5 times the rate of inflation. 5 times the rate of inflation. That's, if you had $1, that's $5 more you're spending, where you still only get $1 from your job. Okay, earlier Mitzi used the word commingling in the legal sense related to a state statute. And that was one of the words that I looked up. Now, commingling is an illegal action that has to do with financial resources. Such in a real estate transaction, your lawyer cannot commingle your money with another client's money. It's considered mixing funds so that they are like in the same place, and then treating them like they're in the same place. And a lot of attorneys get convicted of commingling and misappropriating clients' monies. Commingling is what happens in Stratford when we take money from our enterprise funds and use it to pay our general funds. Another word is conversion. Conversion is the taking, the misappropriating of someone's money without permission of the owner. And it's not just money. It could be, for example, if you had a large lot with trees and the owner behind you went and chopped down the trees and stacked the firewood, that property owner converted your trees into his firewood. Again, that's an illegal taking. Now, plagiarism itself is not a crime, but it is an ethical offense. And we could say taking someone else's funds without their permission, commingling, conversion. Financial plagiarism is attributing someone else's money as your own. It's the wrongful appropriation of money. Then there's fraud, and fraud is the deliberate deception to secure by unfair or unlawful purposes is to deprive a person of their legal rights. So when we ignore state statutes, excuse me, as Mitzi mentioned earlier, it constitutes fraud. And these are the activities that the 6 of us are trying to reverse. We're trying to not only reverse them within the budget, but we're trying to reverse the consequences of those actions in the way that they have affected the finances of our town's funds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And that ends the public forum this evening.